I listen to you guys all the time.
It's awesome.
I'm in the mood for one of your classic anecdotes.
Give yourselves a round of applause. All right, that's enough. Yeah.
Hey guys, there's someone I want you to meet.
Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun on Off the Hook Sports. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio. East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net.
See, look, we're all part of the same team here.
Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Welcome. As you might imagine, Nico will be a topic of conversation. And where do the Vols go now? I have an aggressive approach that I think Tennessee needs to take because, as rare as this is, I agree with Urban Meyer. With Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker on the program. Collusion against Nico, possibly in the college football world. Also, Urban Meyer weighs in. I usually don't agree with him at all because I'm not a big fan of felons and people that kill people. But in this particular case, I think Urban has a point. Also on the program a little bit later today, we'll discuss Nico and did his camp just basically settle? I think they did. Are they lying? Well, Caleb thinks they did. We'll discuss that as well. And as far as the collusion thing, it comes from an unlikely source in Des Bryant, but Des is absolutely right. This day in Tennessee sports history, Vols transfer quarterback options. Listen, I think they've got to get big time aggressive in this thing. No offense to Jake Merklinger. No offense to George McIntyre. They better do something. John Slaughter in the transfer portal. Who else could be in the transfer portal for the Vols coming up? Stat of the day as well. And there's a great rule change that is coming to college football that could benefit Josh Heupel greatly. So we've got a lot going on the program. Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm well. What a week, man.
What a week. And just for the record, I think when you said you're not a fan of felons and people who kill people, you were referring to Aaron Hernandez, not Urban Meyer himself.
Right. I thought people would make that jump, but maybe not. But would you be stunned if you found out that Urban Meyer was a felon and he just kept it hidden, maybe a felon back in the day?
Well, you know, Urban Meyer went on Bill O'Reilly in 2013 and said it'd be really, really hard for him to accept a player like Jameis Winston with his character on his team. And, you know, because Urban Meyer cares about character, Dave. And I am shocked you would think he cares about anything else.
Okay. Pick one word if you can before we get to today's tough question, brought to you by Banks and Jones. We're represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com, as we broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios. Pick one word to describe this whole Nico mess that really is just in its 7th day for the most part. It's only a week old, but my, oh my, it's grabbed Tennessee's fans' attention and grabbed the national media's attention as well. The discussion was up for debate on Pat McAfee's show while I was at the gym, and I just glanced up. They didn't have the volume up, but they must have talked about it for 30 or 45 minutes. This has been a story that has absolutely snagged the sports world, not just in East Tennessee, not just in the South, but all across the national media.
Oh, absolutely. It has. And I would say chaotic for this word, but I will have to say if Nico Iamaleava's dad was the driving force behind all this with his arrogance and his short-sightedness and his just not real brightness, Dave, we might have to share some of our YouTube revenue with him because, man, did he do us a favor in the doldrums of the offseason.
Yeah, maybe he could use the money because he's going to make far less at UCLA. And when you factor in the cost of living, it's even less than that. So we'll dive into some of those numbers. It is today's tough question. Today's tough question is this. Was Nico Iamaleava forced to settle? I think this is a slam dunk. I don't think there is any question. Now, this is if he ends up at UCLA, and you guys are pointing out with Nick Iamaleava, anything could go south, but we believe that he will be at UCLA at this point. But we can ask the question, if he goes to UCLA or less, was he forced to settle? Caleb, I don't think there's any question about that.
Yes, and as far as news goes, I am reporting, and we're doing the show on the assumption that he has transferred to UCLA based on what On3 has reported, because all the signs are out. Basically, everything has made it pretty clear at this point that he's transferred to UCLA.
Except for one report by Chris Lowe that he's not going to get anywhere near the $4 million. After what I saw last week at Tennessee, this could very well blow up. I mean, this could be, whoa, you hinted that I'd make $3 or $4 million, or maybe he gets on a cost of living calculator that I did this morning talking about Nico Iamaleava, and he says, no, this isn't a great fit. I need to go to Boise State or something or BYU where there's not as much state income tax and not as high of a cost of living. So Caleb, yes, I think it's UCLA at this point, but let's work under the premise that it's UCLA or less.
Yes, and he has absolutely settled. This is a worse situation for him in so many ways. All right, let's think about this, Dave. Nico Iamaleava went to a school that was number 118 in offensive production last year. He is playing for a school that not one coach on that staff has ever called an offensive play before. Mm-hmm. He's playing for a head coach who was never an offensive coordinator. He's playing for an offensive coordinator who was a co-offensive coordinator last year at Indiana but didn't call any plays in Tino Sinceri. He's playing for a school that went 5-7 last year. And as you aptly pointed out on your column that's up on Off the Hook Sports right now, he is playing for a school in terms of NIL. Forget the NIL valuations of money guaranteed to him. He's playing for a school that at best is the sixth best market value of a sports team in its own area, because we'll just go through it real quick. You mentioned it. The Dodgers, the Rams, the Chargers, the Lakers, and USC are all better values than UCLA. And I think the Clippers are too. And maybe even the Kings, the LA Kings.
I didn't go Clippers and Kings. I certainly could have, but he's at best fifth fiddle. Now, here's the other reason that he settled, and more so that he made just a huge mistake. Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Today's tough question. Boom. You heard that. Now, take it. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Okay, so here's what I'm hearing. His new NIL deal at UCLA will be about $500,000 less than he made at Tennessee. Now, you factor in cost of living. He is looking at taking about a 50% pay cut. And I did the numbers this morning. In order to make $4 million at in Knoxville, or able to make $4 million as far as cost of living in Knoxville, I'm sorry. In order to make the same thing he made, he would have to make close to $4 million at UCLA. That's not going to happen. So he's going to make $500,000 less. The cost of living is going to cut it about another 50%. And here's the other issue that if I'm UCLA's coaches, I'm factoring in. He is not going to be a good NIL deal guy. And I haven't discussed this a lot, but I'm going to throw it out there now. I talked to several people who were in the NIL space, and they were legitimate NIL people. It wasn't just funneling Nico NIL money. Let's be real clear. Nico did not benefit from NIL. He benefited, well, on a national level to some extent, but he benefited mostly from just boosters giving him money. I talked to a lot of people who were in the NIL world, and I said, well, what would I have to pay Nico? This is before he had established himself at Tennessee, which arguably never did, but before he was a starter. And it was like ridiculous. It wasn't going to happen. He didn't show up for NIL events. So he's not going to go to UCLA or Los Angeles and start doing all these public events, opening up a local grocery store, whatever the case may be, going to a car lot, the things that so many players like, you know, even James Pierce did at times. And he is not going to increase his NIL worth. He wasn't an NIL player for Tennessee. He just took the boosters' money. He didn't go out and promote other businesses, and he's certainly not going to do that in LA. I wouldn't imagine. So Caleb, his top end, I would argue he could have easily gotten to his $4 million by being more active in the community. He was not active in the community. He did not provide boosters and advertisers with a good return on their dollar. I have no reason to believe he's going to do that in LA. So he's essentially, if you compare it via cost of living and the fact that he's going to make about $500,000 less, assuming he does end up signing with Tennessee, he's looking at making about 1.5-ish million in there. And it's never going to rise because he's not comfortable, or his family doesn't believe he should have to go out and do community events. So that's pretty much his top end. Had he really sold himself? I mean, like Mercedes of Knoxville. I know who handles Mercedes of Knoxville, the media buyer then. When Hendon Hooker beat Alabama, their phone was ringing Monday morning. Mercedes of Knoxville had thought about it for a long time, whether or not they wanted to be in the Hendon Hooker game. And after he beat Alabama, they were in. Why? Because he went out and shook their hands and met with them. And they knew that they were getting a stand-up kid. I'm not saying Nico's not a great, genuine young man, but he's not going to go do these things. He's shy, and it's not in his nature. His dad can try to make him if he wants to, but it's just not going to be genuine. You know how it is, Caleb. You meet somebody and you can tell they don't have your best interest at heart. They're just showing up to sell you something. That's essentially what he's going to be doing in a best case scenario. I don't think Nick Iamaleava, from the people I talk to, think that his son should even have to do things like that. That he should just show up on the field and get paid throughout the season and the offseason. The other reason why I think this is such a terrible move for Nico is that they already have a quarterback. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I think Tennessee should be gung-ho and going after this young man. It's Joey Aguilera, who is from App State, and he's really good. And they're already starting to look around. So Nico is already creating an issue, not to mention, and I sound like a broken record when I say this. Nobody knows what a record is. He is coming in the spring transfer portal, and they may run a similar offense that Josh Heupel does, but to think that he's going to learn everything, learn the nuances of his receivers in a couple of months before preseason camp is crazy. I think there's a higher likelihood that he's the backup if Aguilera stays as opposed to not. I can't find, other than being closer to home, which to me is bad as well, because if you're close to home, you're closer to Nick. I just think this is a lose all around.
I am 100% with you on everything on this. And you are right. This is the underrated part. We're going to talk about quarterback synergy target in the portal soon, but given the fact that UCLA found its quarterback and that quarterback worked with them throughout all of spring practice, Dave, I don't think I'm with you. How do we know this is a guarantee he's going to start this year? I mean, he may not win the job, and at which point he has pushed back his NFL money even further, because then he's not going to get drafted after 2025. So let's point this out, because we have to talk about UCLA taking him. I'm going to talk about this from a chemistry perspective of UCLA. Deshaun Foster, I don't think much of him as a head coach. I don't think you do either, right? But whatever, you give everybody a chance. He's in his second year. He's trying to build a program. He's got a first-year offensive coordinator in Tino Sunseri, who, by the way, is, yes, the son of Sal Sunseri. And for anybody who doesn't know, Sal Sunseri ain't the brightest bulb in the box. And
my review of Sal Sunseri from a coach that worked with him is that he's not very good with people, and he's not very bright. Other than that, he should do a great job for the Vols.
Yes, exactly. And if he's not very bright, it's hard for me to think his kids are very bright. Sorry, I just don't think bright people come from dumb families. I just haven't seen that before. Okay. Sorry. I'm just doing basic science and genetics there. So with that in mind, we don't know if he's necessarily playing for the brightest coach, but Deshaun Foster, whatever, he's trying to build a culture. Dave, you know this. You've covered teams. You know what can really wreck a culture? Taking in a quarterback like after spring camp and making them the starter when they didn't go through spring drills with the team at all. I'm just going to throw this out here. Remember Ed Orgeron taking Brent Schaefer from Tennessee in the summer? Remember when he named him the starter before he even set foot on campus?
Yeah.
And
that was a bad play.
It destroyed team chemistry at Ole Miss. It destroyed any chance he had of any success. Josh Heupel nearly lost his team before he ever got it, because I know a couple of people. Dave knows a couple of people. I bet Jimmy knows a couple of people who all felt Hendon Hooker should have won that starting job in fall camp. And most of the team, and Dave, you can say this, most of the team, they were a little upset with Josh Heupel going with Joe Milton. And they wanted Hendon Hooker. They felt Hooker was better. And Josh Heupel didn't even give Hendon Hooker a chance to win the job fair and square. And if Joe Milton, I'll just say this, if Joe Milton doesn't get hurt in the second game of the year and Tennessee stumbles that year, I think Josh Heupel may be fired by year 2. And because I think he would have lost the team. And so Deshaun Foster, the UCLA coach, it's not just a bad move for Nico where he's settling in so many different ways. Given all the news and the stories that we're talking about with Nico, the UCLA team knows about that, by the way. You don't think that if Deshaun Foster just out and out names him the starting quarterback, that many of the UCLA players are going to revolt against the team for that?
Quite possibly. And you can't pay a guy, let's say they give him $1.25 million or $1.5 million. You can't pay a guy that and not play him. It's just like the NFL. When you pay a quarterback, a bajillion dollars because you just drafted him, you have to play him over a guy that may be close to him that's making $550,000 a year. College football has gone in the same direction.
To quote, whatever you think about him in politics, before he was ever in politics, Donald Trump had a quote. You know what it was, Dave? It's actually a pretty good one. He said that if I give you $1,000 loan and you can't pay me back, you've got a problem. But if I give you $100 million loan and you can't pay me back, we both got a problem. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of the situation you're in with Nico. If you give somebody $100,000 in NIL and they don't pan out, that's on them. But if you give somebody $2 million in NIL and they're not panning out, you're in trouble. And that is the situation that you're in with Nico. You got to give him this money. Best example, remember how much Washington leveraged to get RG3? They gave up everything. They had to make him work, and he didn't work out. And it set them back so long. So when you go all in like that on a player, you are screwed if they don't work out. And so, I mean, look, UCLA they're taking a big gamble with team chemistry, because I'll just say this. Someone brings this up. They had their pass protection was outside of the top 100 last year based on PFF grades. Do you think I don't see how Nico can win over his teammates on this. And Dave, you know this better than I do. If you don't win over your offensive line, they may not block that hard for you, right? They're not as inclined to protect you.
Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Did Tennessee settle? Okay, I think we pretty much settled on that.
I mean, did the Nico settle?
What did I say?
You said did Tennessee settle?
Oh, did Nico settle? Sorry, did Nico settle? I think we both agree on that. So I'm going to take it a step further. Nico and his family, and it's a poll question I want you to take a part of. Nico and his family ruined his career, just too greedy. Will still be fine, just too talented. So I'll shift a bit. Brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. All right, give me an update on the poll question, Caleb, and then I want your thoughts. If you're new to the show, we've had an explosion on our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate that. Click that thumbs up button and make sure you have subscribed. All right, Caleb. So tell me, sir, the results of the question and then your thoughts.
So the poll question, Nico and his family Ruined his career, too greedy, will still be fine, too talented. 88% say ruined his career, too greedy, and 12% say will still be fine, too talented. Yeah, so
Where do you stand?
I'm still on the will still be fine, too talented. Only because they look, you know this, particularly at the NFL level, how arrogant. You talked about it yesterday. NFL coaches are the most arrogant people in the world.
Yeah.
And they see his talent and they think, you know what? We're going to make him work out. So
Yeah, and I think the one talent that he has is not arm strength. It's not running. It's none of that. I think he has that innate accuracy to put the ball not just through a tire, as Dan Marino used to do in that commercial. I think he's got the ability to put it through a pinhole. And I think that accuracy, not just referencing a Cowboy, but Troy Aikman used to say that accuracy is the most important attribute you can have. I think some of that's innate. I think it's like shooting. I'm decent at basketball, or at least I was when I was younger. I was decent at basketball, but I can't shoot. And I've worked on it and worked on it. And there's something innate. You can only get so much better. I think that he just innately has that touch. So I do think he'll have a good career. Something we're going to talk about tomorrow. Should he just skip UCLA and prepare for the NFL? I think you could make that argument. All right, changing gears. Nico Iamaleava's camp claims they left over the offense and not just money. Bank on it, brought to you by Commercial Bank member FDIC. Life made better. Caleb calls shenanigans on this, and I can't argue with him. I mean, sometimes Caleb says people are lying. I'm like, that's a little too strong. We could be a little softer on that, but I got no argument whatsoever with Caleb's column. And if you want to put it in the chat, or I can, this is all bull. And this is all PR, Caleb, by the Iamaleava's family. Some front row sports or some stupid thing said a family member. Good Lord, I could go in his family and find a neighbor and that be a family friend and get a quote from him. And what do you think they're going to do, Caleb? They're going to back their neighbors. So there was some report that it was all about personnel or it was all about the scheme. Well, Caleb, that doesn't ring true when you go to UCLA, who runs about the same thing that Tennessee does, just not as good.
Yeah, this is a flat out lie. I'm just going to say this is,
and I'm with you. And I usually don't go that route, but yes, it's a flat out lie.
Yes. So let's, and by the way, I want to point
an orchestrated public relations thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and let's put this out here. A few things. They tried to not only, and here's what was so low about what they did. They threw Tennessee's receivers under the bus in this front office sports quote, because I'm going to pull the full quote real quick. Basically, according to front office sports, what they're saying is that this is their claim, is that they wanted Tennessee to tweak the offense. It was about the offensive scheme Tennessee ran. They didn't like it. They didn't feel like it was a good fit. And then they said they wanted Nico Iamaleava to get more receivers. They said they wanted better receivers for Nico Iamaleava. Now, this is such a lie on so many fronts because, one, I can just tell you guys straight up right now, UCLA has worse receivers than Tennessee. There was an implication there that they wanted better protection. For the record, when it comes to protection, guys, Tennessee went in the transfer portal in the offseason and added 2 offensive linemen in the transfer portal. So that's obviously a lie because they went to a school that is 108th in pass blocking last year. So let's break all of this down real quick. Because I want to point this out. TJ Hushmanzada, who is close to the Nico Iamaleava family, said this on his YouTube channel on Saturday, and he said Tennessee is lying, and he said it was about the offense, and he quoted former players for Tennessee coming back saying the offense hasn't prepared them for the NFL. Now, look, I'll be upfront. That's certainly true. Dave knows players who said it. We have said this offense doesn't prepare you for the NFL, and it just doesn't. That's the nature of the offense. But Dave, Nico Iamaleava committed to Tennessee in 2022. You had Josh Heupel's first year at Tennessee in 2021. You had his body of work as 3 years of head coach at UCF from 2018 to 2020. And you had his 2 years as offensive coordinator of 2017 and 2016 as evidence of the offense he runs. You're not shocked if he's not running a pro-style offense that doesn't develop you for the NFL. That just doesn't make sense to decide you want that now. You know what you're committing to Tennessee for. Someone on our message board said on Monday, Dave, when you weren't here, you don't commit to Tennessee to be coached for the NFL. You commit to Tennessee to put up video game numbers. That's the reason you commit to Tennessee. And Nico's camp saying it was about the offense one, it's a lie because they wouldn't have ever committed to Tennessee to begin with if that was the case. And two, and more importantly, they wouldn't have transferred to UCLA because the other point about this with UCLA, poor pass protection. If it's about help, they have worse receivers. If it's about the offensive scheme, a first-year offensive coordinator who ran the spread at Indiana, so they're not preparing you for the NFL either. Everything about this is such an obvious lie in an attempt to save face. And it's honestly, it's so bad. I'm going to go here, Dave. I'm going here. This is you have to be dumber than Butch Jones was when he thought we believed Shy Tuttle landed on a helmet to think that people are going to believe what you're saying here.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Okay, you and I completely agree. Okay, and give us the results of the previous poll question and where are we now? Bank on it. Remember, commercial FDIC Life Made Better, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Give us the previous poll question and then set the other one up, and then we'll tease that forward.
All right, so Nico and his family ruined his career, too greedy, 79%, will still be fine, too talented, 20%. And I'm not going to give the results of this upcoming poll yet. You guys vote on it, but Nico left the Vols for simply money or anything else?
Okay, Bank on it, brought to you by Commercial Bank. I think it's simply money, and I'm going to play devil's advocate with Caleb in 30 seconds. Commercial Bank, guys, I can't tell you enough about Commercial Bank and how they take care of my finances, and I'm blessed to have them in my life. So whether it's commercial or personal, it's Commercial Bank. Member FDIC, Life Made Better.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank.
Okay, give us the results of the current poll question, and it's about cash.
Nico left the Vols for simply money. Anything else? 87% say simply money, which is a pretty big number.
Yeah, the answer is simply money. If you haven't made your vote yet, just go ahead and click on Simply Money. Go ahead and click on the like button. If you haven't subscribed, do that as well. We got a record number of off-season subscribers, and we appreciate you. All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate. So throw the first assertion at me, and that is he's going to the same type of offense. Well, you don't have to orchestrate. So, okay.
Well, you're making my case if he's going to the same type of offense.
Okay. I'm going to argue that those type of offenses are prevalent in college football, that he feels like he can make a more seamless transition, and that quite honestly, he didn't have the interest that he thought he would, and he doesn't have a plethora of options, some of which would be a pro-style offense.
Doesn't sound like you're playing devil's advocate. It sounds like you're agreeing with me on this.
Well, I mean, he's settled, but I don't think that.
I don't think he planned to settle.
I don't think he planned to settle, and that would be an argument that it's not just about money. Again, I agree with you. So, I mean, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah. Okay. If he was forced to settle at UCLA, which is a fair argument with that, and maybe you were thinking that they left and they were looking for a better offense. The reason it's still a lie to me is because there was no secrets about Josh Heupel's offense the day Nico Iamaleava committed to Tennessee in 2022.
True.
And you and I have talked about this for 3 years now. And for those on the message board, I know you guys say that there's no real pro-style offenses anymore. Yeah, but even on that standard, Josh Heupel's offense really poorly prepares quarterbacks for the NFL. It's and it poorly prepares receivers. The receiver routes they don't run those routes in the NFL, guys. It is Josh Heupel coaches his quarterbacks to look at one side of the field. That's it. And
that's the biggest issue. It's not the receiver routes to me, because I thought last year they ran more routes as opposed to just running to space in 2022. So I have more of an issue with the fact that those in the video format, I'm looking left, I never look right. I'm looking right, I look right, I never look left. I mean, you don't see a receiver, you don't see a quarterback do that in the NFL. So I think there is something to be said for that. But again, he undermines that contention by going to a similar style of offense.
He undermines that contention by committing to Tennessee in the first place. Josh Heupel, like I said, Josh Heupel developed this offense.
Well, you know why he did that?
Money.
Cash
Yes, it was
money.
about cash.
You got $2 million out of the chute, and he's like, did he even look at Josh Heupel's offense, or did his dad just say you're going there because they just gave me $2 million?
His dad just said you're going there because they just gave me $2 million.
Okay.
Obviously.
Let me play devil's advocate on something else. He knows Mike Matthews. He took him to LA, and he knows the rest of Tennessee's receivers, and he knows that receivers in their first year have struggled and that receivers have been on the downward trend since 2022. So I'm playing devil's advocate, but he has no faith in Tennessee's receivers.
One first year, Chris Brazel's will be in his second year starting. Mike Matthews is in his second year as a player at Tennessee. Nico worked with Mike Matthews. Every single sign in spring practice was that Mike Matthews was super elite. I don't know where Nico thought he could go to find a better receiver than Mike Matthews for him. And so devil's advocate on that part, I'm not believing it because what school was going to take Nico that had better receivers?
Right. And we're not going to break down UCLA's recent recruiting, but I guarantee you they didn't have a receiver ranked as high as, well, Mike Matthews out of high school or Chris Brazel in the transfer portal. I will guarantee you that.
Yeah. Yeah. Neither ranked as high, nor Braylon Staley in the slot, by the way. So, I mean, we can go there too.
Okay. But let me take you another step further. And that is Tennessee has had what? About 12 players enter the transfer portal, the latest defensive back, John Slaughter. Nico's not worried about money. He's afraid, and we saw this happen with Butch Jones with assistant coaches, that this is a sinking ship and players are jumping like rats off of a sinking ship.
Again, where could he think about?
He's going to win less games at UCLA. Sorry, I play devil's advocate with myself.
Where could he transfer to at the end of the spring portal that would not also be a sinking ship? I know to add to this, by the way, we have to throw this out here because we're forgetting this, guys. It ain't like the Iamaleavas have the best relationship with UCLA. I want to point this out. Madden Iamaleava was committed to UCLA and then flipped in December to Arkansas.
And that had to be about cash money, man, because why would you go from UCLA, who does run a passing attack, to Arkansas, who's going to hunker down and run the ball on first, second, and half a third down?
You can maybe say Bobby Petrino, and that's it. But like the being at Arkansas, but the problem is, why would Nico go to UCLA if Nico's dad's like forced his younger son to flip from UCLA? I mean, when Madden committed to UCLA, we were like, oh, the lesser quarterback committed to the lesser program. And now Nico's at the lesser program.
No, I got no argument with that. I was playing devil's advocate for funsies. You know that. I agreed with your column, which I don't often do. 100%. Caleb and I don't always see things the same way. But this was all about money. This was all about settling. And it's just hard to see it any other way. A couple of people commenting on Mike Matthews because he went to LA with Nico in the offseason in January. I told you I didn't like a damn thing about that at the time. And would it stun me if I don't think he will, based on people I talked to. He's pretty locked in with his NIL deal. But would it stun me if UCLA is able to get rid of Aguilera? That frees up some NIL money. And then they say to themselves, hey, let's get a receiver quarterback combination and not just a quarterback. Let's get Mike Matthews. Let's call Nico and talk to Nico, because from what I'm told, the players on Tennessee's roster have turned against Nico. However, if there's one exception, it's probably Mike Matthews, right? Because you have a relationship with the quarterback. You would want him to throw the football to you. You wanted it to happen at Tennessee. If it happens to happen at LA, you do that. So, Caleb, that's the one player that I think you should be most concerned about. Could end up at UCLA, could enter the transfer portal, and if so, that's not good news for the Vols.
Yeah, but the only reason I don't think Mike Matthews would do that, and if he goes to UCLA specifically, maybe because he could step in and start, but again, it's hard to get acclimated to an offense leaving after the spring portal window. And I think Mike Matthews sees his potential as the go-to wideout in Tennessee's system. And I think that
who's throwing to him, man?
I mean, that's a question. That's a very good question. But I mean, we'll talk about it later in the program. There are some options for Tennessee at quarterback. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. And this is going to be one of my hotter takes, Dave.
Hot.
And I'll write a column on this later.
That's hot.
I think Josh Heupel should stop spending as much money on elite quarterbacks and spend money on elite players elsewhere, and then just find a quarterback that can throw to a spot, because this is more about Heupel's system than it is the quarterback. Just don't get a quarterback not designed to run your system like Joe Milton, who wasn't built for the system.
I like that. Be sure and bookmark us on offthehooksports.com, because that's a column I'm looking forward to reading. It is time for Stat of the Day. Stat of the Day brought to you by our friend at Sports Treasures.
Stat of the day. They never lie. Or do they? Stat of the day. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Off the Hook Sports.
Stat of the Day. Caleb, brought to you by Sports Treasures. Carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia daily updates. It's right down below. Sports Treasures TN on Facebook. What do you got, Caleb?
All right, so yesterday I told you guys it's the first time in history that Tennessee will have a new starting quarterback for 4 straight years for the majority of the season with Nico gone. Well, it's the first time since 1972. Next year will be the first time since 1972 that for a 3rd straight year, a different quarterback started the entire regular season than the previous year. Because, sometimes you mix in a quarterback. So, for instance, like Joe Milton, even though he was a new starter in 2022, did start a game in 2021 in the regular season. During that time, it was you had Bobby Scott in 1969. I'm sorry, 1970. Yeah, Jim Maxwell.
My Bobby Scott impression.
Oh.
Bobby Scott would always have great information, but a lot of times he started with,
You had Jim Maxwell, Phil Pierce, and Dennis Chadwick all split time in 1971. And then you had Condrich Holloway in 1972. Whereas in 2023, you had Joe Milton. And by the way, nobody try to correct me. I said regular season. I know Nico started the bowl game in 2023, so I said regular season. Joe Milton in 2023.
Correct him. Everybody correct him.
Nico Iamaleava in 2024. And obviously not Nico or Joe in 2025 will be starting.
Newbert Collision Center for nearly 50 years. Newbert Collision Center has been East Tennessee's best choice for quality repair work and fantastic customer service. JoeNewbertCollision.com. JoeNewbertCollision.com. Now, coming up, Tennessee has some options and the transfer portal. And I think most of us thought that they would just go with a warm body to do some practice snaps, to if something terrible were to happen to Merklinger and or McIntyre, who, they might want a red shirt to put on weight. You and I disagree on that a little bit, but was it just a warm body, or do they go after a player? We're going to give you some options, because Josh Heupel has said they're going after a quarterback in the transfer portal. So there is no question that's going to happen. Hang tight. We'll give you some names that you need to be aware of. Also coming up on the program Stat of the Day, Tennessee with a Vol that was going to play quite a bit in the transfer portal. Urban Meyer says the Vols were screwed, and I tend to agree with him. So stay tuned. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We broadcast live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio. So stay tuned. A lot to get to with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, off the Hook Sports. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. banksandjones.com.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
his vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Are you ready to get strong? At NFC, we offer top-notch weight training and functional fitness, so you can build strength and improve your performance. Join today at nfc1.com or stop by any one of our 7 East.
Your power, the Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun, represented by T. Scott Jones, banksandjones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Nico's gone. Have you heard? Yeah, he's gone. Supposedly to UCLA, but we'll see. I'm still not 100% sold. But would you, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being completely stunned, fall out of my chair, 1 being, yeah, that sounds about right. How surprised would you be if the UCLA thing fell through?
I'd still be about a 6.
Yeah, that's probably where I am. Nothing would surprise me from that family, though.
No. I mean, maybe his dad's been humbled, though. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I will say, when you're not a bright person and his dad's not a bright person, you don't. One of the #1 things dumb people do is they don't admit when they're wrong to themselves. They can't acknowledge to themselves when they're wrong.
Right. And you're kind of going down the path that this was the first major strikeout for Nick. I think he struck out on several occasions when he didn't get as much money as he thought he could from Tennessee. I think there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes strikeouts, Nolan Ryan style.
Also, what do you make of? Okay, I'm going, guys, consistently off the premise that this just ain't a bright dude, Nico's dad. What do you make of the idea that that he's so unsmart that after he got this money, he just blew it all, and the Iamaleava family's broke now, and that's why they wanted more NIL money?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. So how much does he walk away from Tennessee from? With $4 million or so?
Yeah, $4 million.
I mean, let's even say 5. Like, he got half of it in the offseason. That's not a lot of money in LA.
Let's say this. What if Nick went to somebody and took out a loan worth like $6 million and used his son's money as leverage to pay it back because he wanted to start some business that went belly up? I'm saying dumb people do that.
Wouldn't surprise me. All right. Des Bryant, former Dallas Cowboy quarterback, played at Oklahoma State, is something. A good player, probably not a great player, but he said that the college football world is colluding against Nico Iamaleava. Now, collusion's a dirty word in the NFL, because if you're colluding against a player, they have a union, and you can get in legal trouble for that. Colluding is tough to prove, because theoretically I could collude with other media members to keep Joe, Bob, Harry, whatever his name is, out of the media world. So it's really tough to prove, and you very rarely have written documentation of that. But I'll say this, he's exactly right. There is no question in my mind that the college football world colluded against Nico Iamaleava. And it's not illegal because there's no union. There's no law against collusion. And if you're telling me for a second that these coaches didn't call Josh Heupel and say, what could I be getting myself into? You're crazy. So let's say there are 2 or 3 destinations. Oregon already told him no, reportedly. Let's say there are 2 or 3 destinations that would have paid him the $4 million, and they call around and ask about maybe not only Josh Heupel, but they call Sam Pittman and said, how have things been with Madden and the Iamaleava family? What do you expect them to say? Good Lord. I mean, Caleb is a fantastic employee, but if he sucked, then I would tell people that if they were looking for him to fill a position, yes, they colluded, and why the hell shouldn't they?
Okay, but I think Des Bryant is making a much more nefarious, not nefarious. I think he's accusing the college football world of something much more sinister than just colluding because coaches were talking and they didn't want him, and then because of things they're hearing. I think he's implying that coaches and athletic directors and collectives saw this as not collectives because they get paid. Coaches and athletic directors saw this as an opportunity to reset the NIL market. And
okay, well, then it should be reset. There's no way in God's creation that he should be getting $4 million and he's a middle of the pack SEC quarterback.
Right. I agree. But there is a hint that, there is a level of illegality in doing that. Like, there's a level of illegality if you're all colluding to specifically not pay this person what you otherwise would have. Now, to prove it is hard. Okay, and you're right. There's probably no way to possibly prove it unless there's emails. But what if if Josh Heupel and who was looking at Nico Iamaleava? Let's say hypothetically Lincoln Riley were emailing each other, and Bill Belichick was in the email. Let's just name some coaches. Name some coaches, Dave. Josh Heupel, Bill Belichick, Lincoln Riley, the Tulane coach, and they all say, "Hey guys, we're all getting screwed in these negotiations with NIL. Let's all not sign. Let's all agree to not pay him more than $2 million because this is our chance to reset the NIL market for everybody." If that comes out, then theoretically Nico Iamaleava could sue for collusion. Now, did that happen?
How? There's no union.
You can still there are still rules against collusion. Antitrust violations in general don't. There was no collusion. There was no union when the athletes sued the NCAA over the rights to NIL to begin with. You could claim antitrust. Would it go anywhere? I don't know. Maybe, but it's definitely possible that could have happened. But let me put this out here. I don't think it did. Des Bryant's trying to recover for Nico because I think Des Bryant's blowing his money because I think Des Bryant's one of the dumbest people to ever play in the NFL himself. And I'm sorry, I know you're a Cowboy fan, Dave, but he just ain't the brightest bulb in the box.
Everybody that goes to Valley Ranch loses about 20 IQ points.
And Des Bryant had negative IQ points before he went to Valley Ranch. So he was dumb and Jerry Jones made him dumber. So it's one of those where I've told you this before. I think Tony Romo could have been as good as Troy Aikman if Des Bryant were as good as Michael Irvin, but Des Bryant was not as good as Michael Irvin because Michael Irvin was smart.
It's absolutely not true. What the H collusion? Is it a thing? Is it something that the Iamaleava family could come back and try to sue Tennessee for? What the H, Des Bryant?
What the H?
Wow, I never worked hard on anything. What a cool life.
For real? The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
There's no collusion in which Josh Heupel has a band of coaches together to say, we're going to change this thing. But there is collusion just in terms of if he got a phone call from anybody. But that technically could be collusion. But here's the thing, Caleb. You didn't need collusion because Nico Iamaleava played the whole thing out in public. You didn't need to call and secretly find out the dirt on Nico because his dad was all out there.
Yes, I agree with you on that. I mean, his dad put everything on Front Street. By the way, okay, let's just put this out there. If Nico's dad is watching this, there's probably a chance he thinks he's going to like get it in his mind that he could sue over this. Like,
bring it on. Represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. I promise you will win, Nick.
What are the chances? No, not sue us. I mean, sue.
Well, he can.
No. I think there's a chance he hears us talking about this, and his dumb self is like, "Oh, they did collude against my son. I'm going to go sue now." And try to sue the NCAA and try to sue college football coaches. I'm dead serious. Like, he might actually think that. Okay, so with that in mind, I think that are we sure, Dave? That's not the next step. Are we sure they're not that the Iamaleavas are not going to try to claim collusion and sue like college football as an entity and think they can do that, or maybe sue Tennessee and say Tennessee like orchestrated some collusion against Nico?
Okay. If they did so, it would be, I would think, after his college football career, or that he's established at a school like UCLA, if they wanted to sue Tennessee. I'm kind of with our super chat buddy, Timothy, sue for what? I don't see grounds for it whatsoever, and we appreciate the super chat. Could he sue college football, the NCAA, whatever the hell that is nowadays? Yeah, sure. I mean, he could. I can sue Caleb because I don't like his bangs. Some people pointing out on the message board. But you can sue anybody for anything. It doesn't mean you're going to win. And they seem cash strapped. So I can tell you the university has plenty of money and has lawyers on retainer. I can tell you that when my whole thing went down with the Inky Johnson thing, I had journalism groups and foundations and all this stuff pledging to give me $5,000-$10,000, several of them, to sue the university. Well, it doesn't matter how much they pledged. The university had more, and you also hurt your reputation. So he would have to, first of all, be secure in a spot, because whoever I can't remember the coach's name now at UCLA, but you're going to be, Foster, you're going to be even less likely to take him if he's suing the former team. You don't want to open up that can of worms. So I don't see that playing out.
Deshaun Foster might. He's a little desperate at UCLA. Like, I think he's a little, look, I like Deshaun Foster as a person. I think he's a good guy, but this is a former running backs coach who was promoted to head coach for a position he wasn't prepared for. And I mean, like,
and to remind everybody, because Chip Kelly made the odd move to suddenly be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State.
Yes, mid-all season, Chip Kelly bolts UCLA to become Ohio State's offensive coordinator. UCLA, in a scramble, promotes Deshaun Foster to head coach from running backs coach. He wasn't prepared for the position. He's not ready for it. I don't think he's head coach material myself. But Dave, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't blame the guy. You get the head coach offer, you take it, right? I mean, so but like he's.
I think,
yeah, exactly.
He had to know deep down he wasn't ready, but he's going to take the job.
Right. You're going to take the job. Now, so Deshaun Foster, I think, took the job. I kind of feel bad for him because, again, I don't think I think he's a little bit, I think he's insecure. I think he's desperate somewhat to try to make a splash. So I think Deshaun Foster would still stick with Nico. Even if this lawsuit or anything like this blew up. But just to give you guys a quick history lesson on the way this worked out.
Well, of course he would stick with him if they've already signed an agreement.
Right.
That's what I mean by secured settled.
The reason they would sue is they would hope something comes out in discovery. So just to give you a quick history lesson on this, I don't care how you feel. I'm sorry, guys. Did not mean to cough like that, but I don't care how you feel about him. I'm not here to debate.
Crack smoking.
I'm not here to debate like the whole national anthem debate controversy, but the Colin Kaepernick lawsuit against the NFL. The reason Colin Kaepernick won was because in discovery, he sued. Basically, he took the knee, did all that, and then he didn't get signed by anybody in the offseason. Now, you could easily have claimed he didn't get signed because he was a 2-year backup quarterback, wasn't that good, and also was a distraction. There's plenty of reasons to not sign him. But the reason he won was because in discovery, I think it was the Bills owner and one other owner, like, stupidly communicated with each other over why over an agreement to not sign Colin Kaepernick. which is why he was able to claim collusion. So the argument that the reason that the Iamaleava family might sue is they would hope that they could get lucky that in discovery, they find some exchanged emails between like Josh Heupel and I don't know, Lincoln Riley, like I said, to say, hey, let's not offer this, let's agree to not do this. And then in discovery, all of a sudden, Nico could claim collusion, and then there'd be a settlement. So again, that's what happened with Kaepernick, because Kaepernick, the NFL owners were on solid footing to not sign him. But they were so stupid that a couple of them communicated with each other about not signing him, and that came out in discovery, which was why he was able to settle with the league, which is proof that so many owners are not the brightest bulbs in the box.
Yeah, I don't see a lawsuit coming, because the chances are, sure, something could come up in discovery, but the chances are you're going to spend 6 digits or more on suing the University of Tennessee or whoever you're suing, the NCAA, for collusion or whatever the case may be, but probably going to lose that. And ultimately, the University of Tennessee can lose $1 million and not even skip a beat. Whereas the Iamaleava's family, unless they're signing the contract I'm not aware of at UCLA, they lose $1 million. That's a lot of money.
Yes, it is. It is a significant amount of money, and we don't even know. Again, all of this could come into the issues for his NFL draft stock too. So there's a lot of reasons, and I get people on the message board saying that the difference it's a lot harder because the NCAA is not unionized. I get your point on that, but you can still sue for collusion without unionization. As a matter of fact, unionization provides a few more antitrust protections for the business than otherwise would. Just to give you an example real quick, not a full example, but Dave, you know this, it's easier for a business to violate antitrust laws if their employees are unionized, right?
Right.
At that point. Yeah. So unionization actually favors the businesses in court cases about antitrust lawsuits, because they can make the claim that their employees are unionized. So you actually are on more solid footing when you're not unionized, because then you can truly claim antitrust violations.
Let's bring in Timothy's super chat. What is that, Caleb?
We adults, Timothy says, we adults need to grow a backbone. A lot of coaches that are professional are close and have been warning each other for years, per the real coach JB. Who's JB? Timothy, let us know.
End of that means, but yeah, they all talk. I was watching the latest episode of Theo Vaughn, and it had Lane Kiffin on it, which is pretty entertaining. We're going to break down some of that tomorrow. Just too busy with Nico talk, but he has a what would you call it? A message chat room? What is it called when you have
a podcast?
No, when you like, if I have Caleb and other people on a group chat. Okay. You know who's on that group chat? Jimbo Fisher's been on that group chat. Kirby Smart's on that group chat. Lane Kiffin is texting those guys. These coaches talk all the time. You think they go home and they absolutely hate each other. That's not most oftentimes the case. Most oftentimes the case is they know each other. They empathize with what they're going through, especially now with the NIL portal. So was there collusion? I think there probably was. But I don't have any problem with it, and I don't think it's provable.
But was the collusion Heupel telling coaches interested, guys, you don't want him, he's going to be a problem, his dad's a problem? Or was it, hey, guys, if we all agree to not sign this player for more than $2 million, we can devalue, we can reset the NIL market? Because the former is not illegal. The latter is.
All right. So yes, go ahead. Yeah, have you Timothy's super chat? I have not.
You guys are I'm Last Chance U, Coach JB Independence. Oh, he's talking about Last Chance U. Okay. That school in Mississippi that has helped revive a lot of careers, basically. I know what you're talking about.
Listen, collusion, yeah, probably, but that's going to be way hard to prove. I mean, whether it was unintentional collusion, I don't think it was anybody saying. To me, collusion, Caleb, is this. If Josh Heupel calls UCLA and says, listen, if you agree to only pay Nico this much money, then I won't take the Joey Aguilar guy. We're working together to control the market. But just a simple review, somebody calling and saying, how was he in your locker room, to say that his dad was a big jackwagon, that's not collusion to me. That's just giving a job review.
No, I agree, but that's why I said there is a difference. It depends on what's in the language in the emails. So, and also, here's the other part of lawsuits. This is one of the things that and Dave, you know this, you've covered lawsuits. One of the biggest reasons people settle in lawsuits is because while they actually could win the lawsuit that itself, things that might come out in discovery, they don't want those things to come out just for humiliation or whatever. Like one of the biggest reasons, like I said, Kaepernick won his lawsuit is I think the NFL didn't want certain things to come out in discovery, honestly. And it had nothing to do with colluding against Kaepernick, and they probably would have won that case, but it's like, there's probably some embarrassing things. So like, what if in discovery, like, I don't know, there's some like really like salacious emails that Josh Heupel sent, you know, like what if they like talk about like frat bro stuff to each other and he just doesn't want that out?
I have trouble. I don't see how this could even possibly be collusion, even though it is. I don't see how it could be illegal.
Illegal collusion, like official collusion in court.
Yeah, I don't see that. Do you see any possibility that could happen?
No, I don't. And I mostly don't see it because Des Bryant's the one who claimed it. And like Des Bryant is just not a bright person, like I said.
Stupid people say smart things. This day in Tennessee sports history is now, and it's brought to you by Hound Dogs of Knoxville. Champions look good in orange. HDKnoxville.com. HDKnoxville.com. You'll absolutely love them. They recently rearranged everything. It's easier to get around, and the selection is unbelievable. Anything Tennessee, champions look good in orange.
This day in Tennessee sports history.
It's cool, baby. It's cool.
Now you know, and knowing is half the battle. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Off the Hook Sports.
This day in Tennessee sports history. Caleb, what do you got?
It's a happy birthday to two players who were teammates in Tennessee basketball and are the exact same age and were born on the exact same day. And I'm talking about C.J. Watson and Dane Bradshaw. Both turned 41 years old today, and both played. Ironically, Dane Bradshaw was C.J. Watson's backup for 3 years. 2 years under Buzz Peterson, and then Bruce Pearl came and decided to start both of them at the same time, which worked really well.
More beloved player, Dane Bradshaw or C.J. Watson?
Oh, man.
I think Dane.
Dane's more beloved because he was such a, you felt bad for Dane because he was forced to play power forward as a point guard in Bruce Pearl's system because Bruce Pearl had no size that year. But, like, I think people somewhat feel bad for C.J. Watson because C.J. Watson did have a 10-year NBA career, but the reason he wasn't drafted is because his first 3 years he was laboring under a very poor coaching in Buzz Peterson. And by the way, I mean, I actually remember meeting a member of C.J. Watson's family. You've interviewed him. They genuinely despise Buzz Peterson.
Yeah, and I can't blame them. Me included, I underrated C.J. Watson. I thought that Dane Bradshaw during his career was a real overachiever. I don't even think it's close. I think it's Dane Bradshaw was the more beloved player. Coming up, we'll take a look at Tennessee's transfer quarterback options. Should they go all in, try to get a guy who could play this year, or is it just a warm body? We'll throw some names at you. Also, before the end of the program, Urban Meyer says the Vols are screwed, and I tend to agree with him. John Slaughter is in the transfer portal. It's not great. That's not the end of the world. And there are some rules changes coming to college football that are going to benefit Josh Heupel and the Vols. I promise you that. 2 minutes off the Hook Sports with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beat. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Frank, like the name, but serious or something. The Dave Hooker Show with Calhoun, represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com, Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer, Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
Hot or Cold brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning coming up. Caleb, so we'll dive into that. You were one that thought that Dane Bradshaw was way out of position, right? And that was a huge mistake. Am I quoting you correctly?
No, it wasn't a mistake. It was just something Bruce Pearl was forced to do. I'll tell you this, the final year where Tennessee reached #1 and won the SEC, but lost in the Sweet 16 to Louisville. If Dane Bradshaw could have taken a red shirt and been the point guard on that team, Tennessee might go win a national title. Because Dane Bradshaw was kind of he was playing the 4 because Tennessee was so undersized during that time.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Hot or Cold brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. So let's take a look at some quarterbacks that Tennessee's going after in the transfer portal. But let me ask you this, as the premise will be this. Are you going, it's a poll question, so take part. Are you going after a warm body, or are you going after a guy that could actually start this season, which is tough in the spring transfer portal? But if that were to happen, you would probably lose George McIntyre, I would think. You would probably definitely lose Jake Merklinger. And I believe that there are repercussions, and that's why you should just go with a warm body. A guy who can handle practice snaps, a guy who, listen, if you're in an absolute disaster scenario in which both quarterbacks either can't play or got hurt, you could turn to, and he could be competent. So my competent is Gaston Moore. I mean, I think he's competent. He's not going to go out and win you games. You just hope he doesn't lose you games. So warm body or a real factor, Caleb, what do you think Tennessee should do?
Oh, Dave loves warm bodies, guys. I'm going for a real factor, but a guy with only 1 or 2 years of eligibility left.
Okay, so you're going with a real factor. Let's go ahead.
But an upperclassman.
Okay, all right. I don't think that's the best direction to go. Let's go hot or cold now. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com.
And hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Integrity matters. 50 years in East Tennessee. cityheatandair.com on Off the Hook Sports.
Okay, so you give me the names. I'll tell you if I'm hot or cold on them, Caleb Calhoun. Go right ahead, sir.
All right, so we're going to start with the most recent player to transfer to UCLA, Joey Aguilar, who at App State last year threw for 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, but completed just 55.9% of his passes. However, the year before, he completed 63.7% of his passes and threw for nearly 3,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. I can't really explain the regression to it at all. I mean, but at the same time, I will say that Appalachian State has not had consistent head coaching for a while, and Sean Clark, who was just there, I believe got fired. So we have to be fair on that. So maybe it was just poor coaching, and that was behind the regression.
That's hot.
I would go after Aguilera right now. That would be already, that phone call would already be made.
I would too.
Would absolutely go after him. I think he gets close. Now, he may not want it because he doesn't think he could start, but I think you play up to, hey, you could play and you're closer to home. You went to App State. I don't know where his original home
Well,
is.
he's actually from California, so.
Okay, so you go back to, maybe that's not a desire, but listen, they're not going to pay Nico $1.5 million to sit the bench. It's just a factor. I mean, it's a fact. It's just not going to change. All right.
I want to add, I would totally go after him too. And one thing you missed is he's also a senior. So just McIntyre nor Merklinger would hit the portal after this, because you could be like, he's going to start, and then we'll open up practice. We'll open up competition next year with McIntyre, Merklinger, and Brandon.
All right. Who's next?
Next is all right. Let's have a little fun. He's still in the portal, guys. Just transferred from Georgia. Jaden Rashada. That our message board mentioned him by name.
That's hot.
I would go after Jaden Rashada, highly regarded coming out of high school. I think he's more mobile than what Tennessee has now. I think that might be the evolution of Tennessee's offense, to have a more mobile quarterback, run him around a little bit, because right now they seem to be a little stagnant over the past couple of years as defenses have caught up to this this style of offense. So I'm all about that.
Just know if you go after Jaden Rashada, you are pushing one of the other two quarterbacks into the transfer portal at that point, maybe both. They're not going to like that at all. Now, maybe that's just how you deal with it, but you're not bringing in Jaden Rashada, you're not bringing in a guy to immediately be your starter in the fall. There's no proof that he'll be more ready than George McIntyre or Jake Merklinger. So I'm actually cold on that, funny enough.
All right. Cold, that's fine. All right. Well, who's next?
All right. Next on the list is Mike.
So Rashada can't play this year, our message board is saying. Is that correct?
Well, he can't. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can transfer to Tennessee, because isn't that it's an SEC school, but he left Georgia in the winter, so I don't know how that rule works. But yeah, maybe that's it.
I thought it was just a spring portal rule, but we'll look into that.
All right, next is Mike Wright, the Northwestern quarterback who just hit the portal. He played 3 years at Vanderbilt, last year played at Mississippi State, and then played at Northwestern. He's never his most significant action was at Vanderbilt in 2021, but he's never really been a full-time starter. But he's got like I guess you could call it a career sample size in 5 years of playing football. But he has a 6 year of eligibility in 2025.
That's hot.
I would take him. I'm going to take most of these guys, because I think Tennessee's going to end up having to settle with a guy that's not very good.
I would take Mike Wright too. And remember, 6'4", 195, 6 year senior. Again, stopgap quarterback. He comes in for a year, you start him, and then you move on with your future next year with guys who are a little more, once Mac and Merklinger are a little more ready. Now, a lot of people Mike Wright's best year completion percentage wise was 60% when he completed 6 of 10 passes in 2020. And he's never done better than 57.6% since then. But again, part of this is you have to see the offenses they're playing in, and then the offense hype will run. So there's a lot there with Mike Wright.
White power. No, we're not going to say that.
It's Mike Wright, not Mike White.
Right. I'm sorry. Somebody says all in on white, Hooker 2.0. All right. So No white power here. All right, who's next, Caleb?
No white power here. Way to demonetize us. Okay. All right. So moving on. And by the way,
power. That's what I should say. Right power.
All of these guys, by the way, this is like, I'm just naming people that were mentioned by Tennessee. And just so you guys know, the way Tennessee fans work on Twitter, there's probably somebody on Vol Twitter right now being like, hey, what you think we get Patrick Mahomes to like use this final year college eligibility and come back? There's somebody on Vol Twitter saying that right now. So, all right.
Where's Gaston Moore? Is he out of eligibility?
No, he hit the transfer portal.
I'd bring his ass back. Excuse my language. I would, man. I mean, if these guys go out and spit the bit and you don't have, I mean, let's face it. I've seen quarterbacks before spit the bit and not be any good, which means go out there and be highly recruited. Jonathan Crompton was one I covered. Now, it wasn't his fault. There was a lot of things going on, but
well, we'll just add Gaston Moore. I mean,
how about Eric Ainge early at LSU? I don't think he was ready. If these two guys aren't ready, you need a dude just to fall back on.
All right, so let's actually talk about this for a minute. Let's just go ahead and play the game.
You're going to have trouble giving me a quarterback that Tennessee shouldn't take.
Are you hot or cold on Gaston Moore? He's in the portal. No one signed him.
That's hot.
I'm red hot on Gaston Moore. Red hot. That's who I would go get.
All right,
that's my column for tomorrow, by the way.
So next, Ryan Brown. Now, Ryan Brown played 2 years at Purdue as a backup, and then he transferred to UNC under Belichick, but he has just hit the transfer portal again. Interestingly enough, he is a freshman. He has 2 years of he's had 2 years of experience, but he redshirted 1 year. He's still classified as a freshman. So he would, like, if you bring in Ryan Brown, you're bringing in somebody to compete like for the future for Tennessee at quarterback.
That's hot.
I'm taking anybody that can throw the ball 45 or more
yards. I'm high on Ryan Brown too, 6'4", 210. I think he could immediately compete, and also he's mobile, so I would actually take Ryan Brown. All right. Now this is where Tennessee fans get their delusions coming in.
Listen now. Vols win says, Dave, you want Gaston to come in off the bench to throw interceptions. I don't think you'll do that. I don't. I like Gaston last year. I like Gaston. If he led the Vols last year, the Tennessee would still win 8 games. And I'll still stand by that. I don't think they got great quarterback play out of Nico until the last half of the season. So, bam. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, like, yeah, and they won 12% almost of last year. They also had a running back who ran really hard, Dylan Sampson. Okay, going on. This
is a great defense. So, that's a perfect fit for a guy that's just a caretaker, a game manager. That's Gaston.
Going to more experienced people. The guy that was trending yesterday a lot on Twitter, guys, is a Kansas State quarterback, Avery Johnson, a sophomore, 6'2", 192. He started last year, Dave, for Kansas State, completed 53% of his passes, but threw for 2,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and ran for another 600 yards and 7 touchdowns. So a dual threat quarterback.
Now, that's not Avery Johnson, the former head coach at Alabama, is it?
No. It is.
Remember how odd his voice was?
Yes.
For a grown man, he sounded like a 3-year-old. All right, go ahead.
Wait, you are you hot or cold?
That's hot.
Dude, I'm hot on everybody on this list.
I'm hot on Avery Johnson.
If they started a single game, I'm hot.
I'm hot on Avery Johnson too. I'm very hot on Avery Johnson, actually, to be fair. All right. Now we go. This is my top guy, funny enough, Dave. And I'll just say up front, I'm very hot on him. Go after your protege's quarterback, Byron Brown from South Florida.
That's hot.
Go get him. He didn't start. He didn't play much last year. I think he got banged up, but he's a junior, 6'3", 225. Dave, he started all of 2023, completed 65% of his passes for 3,300 yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, ran for another 800 yards and 11 touchdowns. How can you not get this guy? You can get him to come from South Florida to Tennessee, right? And you probably don't have to pay him $2 million.
No, you should be nice to Alex Golis, your former assistant and good buddy.
Really? Really?
No, screw him. No, you should. You got to do what's right for your program. And I think the worst case scenario, the doomsday scenario, is that McIntyre and Merklinger don't live up to their recruiting billing. And then you've got a problem, and you go 6-6, and Josh Heupel is on the hot seat big time headed into next year. With 2 quarterbacks that you question and another one coming in and with Faison Brandon that I've heard is not wowed people in the offseason. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So Byron Brown's my top guy. Now, another one that, because this is Tennessee fans and they just name everybody. Like I told you, Tennessee fans right now are on Twitter saying they think they can lure Patrick Mahomes away from the NFL to use his final year of eligibility in college. That's what Tennessee fans do.
That's hot.
Go
So,
for
and there's somebody on Twitter that's like, he'd probably have more fun playing football at Tennessee than in the NFL. He'd probably prefer. Yeah. All right. So, but because they're naming, Dave, here we go. I think I can get you cold on one. One of the trending ones yesterday was a triple option quarterback because Tennessee fans are calling for Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, a 6'2", 195 junior to come to Tennessee, who runs the triple option, rushed for 1,200 yards last year and threw for 1,300 yards last year, had 30 total touchdowns.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
I'm not hot on that one. I'm not hot on the triple option quarterback. All right, who else?
And he's a junior, but yes, I'm not hot on him either. All right, couple more. Rocco Beck, Iowa State. I think ball fans are delusional and dreaming, but they have named him. He is a sophomore, 6'1", 210. He last year completed 59.4% of his passes for 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, and also ran for 300 yards and another 8 touchdowns.
Yes, Travis, good point. Dak Prescott, he played 5 games before he got hurt. Also might get the hell beat out of him in a spring break trip, which shouldn't be good. I'll go.
That's hot.
I'm hot on him too. And a couple in the message board, are these coming up? Cade Klubnik,
No, that's ball fans dreaming.
Okay, but I will say this.
That's hot. That's hot.
I'm hot on both those guys. Go
Yeah,
get them.
and I want Patrick Mahomes and I want Jalen Hurts coming back to college. And I mean, like, let's just name everybody, What was it the guy said in Austin Powers when he's like, I want $1 quadrillion. Okay.
$1 billion.
All right. So okay. Next, so Rocco Beck. All right, now Baylor quarterback, who's also been getting named, and he's a junior, so he could be a stopgap quarterback again. Sawyer Robinson. He's 6'4", 220 pounds, completed 62% of his passes for 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, ran for another 230 yards, 4 touchdowns.
I particularly like the name. It sounds like it came out of an Ernest Hemingway novel.
That's hot.
I'll take him. All
right, so we got 3 more to close this thing out. And this is delusional Tennessee fans are naming him, but I actually don't think it's crazy. The Arizona State quarterback who led them to the college football playoff last year, Sam Levitt. 61% of his passes, completed 61.7% of his passes for 2,885 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 443 yards rushing, another 5 touchdowns. They did just get Wendell Moore came from Arizona, not Arizona State, but I'm just saying that could are you hot on him, Dave? 6'2", 200. He'd be a freshman.
I'm hot on all of them. The one I'm going to tell you the one I'm hottest on.
All right.
We wrap this up. But first, before we get to the final one and who I'm hottest
Two
on. 2 more. All right. Sorry. Caleb's always there to correct me. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare. All right, give us the other pair.
All right. So first, Iowa quarterback James Reeser never played a game in his life. Is a freshman, 6'4", 212. You got to be cold on him. He's a statue, Dave. He's an Iowa quarterback.
I don't care.
That's hot.
I'm telling you, dude, they need a body, man. Who's willing to say yes?
Hookers love their bodies, man.
And
all right.
And for the right amount of money, we say yes.
All right. So finally, okay, take one of these, and I'll let you pick, Dave. UCF quarterback Dylan Rizk just hit the transfer portal after Taven Jackson, who was a Tennessee commit, transferred from Indiana to UCF. Do you go for either of those?
I want to know if
That's hot. That's hot.
I want to know if Taven Jackson, if the ink on that contract is dry, because I'm going after him too.
Gonna try to bring Taven back.
Yes.
Dave is going for everybody. Oh, General Ursus, that's right. Heath Schuler has a year of eligibility left.
He does.
How about that's true? Cam Newton came from JUCO, right? He's got a year of eligibility left.
I guess. All right.
That's hot.
Take him. Good Lord, take him. All right.
All right, who's the top one?
I'm only half Gaston Moore. I'm not even joking.
No, I think. I'll give you mine, but
Okay,
tell me why you got
mine's
similar.
Justin Moore because I think you could actually get him. I think he's a competent quarterback, and I think he would be okay with sitting the bench because he loves Tennessee.
I'm going Byron Brown because he's coming from US. He's coming from South Florida. He's proven himself in this system. He's experienced in this system. You have him for a year, and then you can start him for a year, and then you're ready to roll with Merklinger, McIntyre, or Faison Brandon, whoever starts next year. So I'm going Byron Brown out of South Florida, as awkward as that would make things between Josh Heupel and Alex Golish afterward.
Urban, I don't care. What are they? I mean, they're going to spend Christmas together. So, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I didn't really care about where Caleb was working when I hired him away. I didn't say, oh, no, they're going to be in trouble about Caleb. I didn't give two bleeps, to be real honest with you. All right, 2 minutes, and then Urban Meyer's right, guys. Tennessee is screwed. Not to say they can't get unscrewed, but right now they're screwed. 2 minutes off the hook sports with Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker.
It's a new year, a new day, and Ted Russell Lincoln has an exciting new offer to share. Right now, get a 2024 Lincoln Navigator with 0% APR for 72 months and up to $4,000 in bonus cash. Or drive away in a new 2024 Lincoln Corsair Grand Touring with 0% APR for 60 months and up to $4,500 in bonus cash. It's time to get excited about the ride. Come and see what a luxury car experience truly is at Ted Russell Lincoln Knoxville.
Now in its 45th year, the second and third generations continue Joe Newbert's commitment.
His vision of what this business needed to be, we still try to live up to that.
Joe Newbert Collision Center.
Having been in the jewelry industry for a long time in the Knoxville community, I saw a need for a jeweler, a real jeweler.
Our ability to do these designs has really been based on the customers bringing new things in and challenging us as a store. Our goal is not to tell anybody what they want. Our goal is to listen to what they want and then help them get there.
Schedule your consultation today to get your special someone the perfect custom gift just in time for the holidays.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute.
A guy with a lot of jobs, but this one is the most important.
This is not government work. As such, I treat it with care and attention.
Until someone else calls. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun. Represented by T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. Tennessee's trial attorney. From the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studio, East Tennessee's #1 volume and customer service dealer. Ted Russell Ford and TedRussellLincoln.net. Now to the Dave Hooker Show on Off the Hook Sports.
I screwed up.
Shocker.
I just want to add, they're right. Everybody's right. I've totally forgot about Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King, who would be in his final year of eligibility, stopgap quarterback. Completed 73% of his passes last year for 2,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions, 587 rushing yards, another 11 touchdowns, 6'3", 215. That's the other best one. Take Haynes King.
That's hot.
Okay, let me ask you this though: what's Tennessee's sales pitch? If you're talking about a stopgap, are you talking about a stopgap guy that is going to play, or a stopgap guy that is a warm body in case McIntyre and Merklinger can't play for whatever?
I'm looking for a stopgap guy to play for a year. So then I have an open competition next year between Merklinger and McIntyre when they're more ready. So my selling point is you're going to start for a year, and it would be ideally your final year of eligibility. You get to start for Tennessee. You could put up gaudy video game numbers and maybe become an NFL draft pick. Dalton Connect, the guy.
Okay. Let's do that tomorrow, can we? I know we're talking transfer quarterbacks today, but I tend to disagree a little bit. So, stopgap or warm body? It was a poll question earlier. If you want to vote on that, you can. Do you have the results of that poll question?
Let's see. I'm going down here. What do you expect out of a QB in the transfer portal? A true factor, a warm body. 56% say true factor, 44% say a warm body. Just the way you're saying that, a warm body is just like not just a body, a warm body.
I got that from coaches.
Dave's looking for some.
No, I got that from coaches who would always say, I would say, he's a pretty highly rated. I'm not going to tell you which coach said this, but you can probably guess. He won a national championship. But I would say he was a highly recruited prospect. And the response, it was Philip Fulmer. He would say, no, he's a suspect now, and he's just a warm body. If a guy didn't pan out. One of those guys ended up being, I think, a first-round pick in the NFL draft. You remember Heath Benedict by chance?
I remember the name, but
he ended up going to a small New Jersey school. And he, for whatever reason, made Philip Fulmer so mad. I've never seen Philip Fulmer run a guy off the way he did. And you know how I've told you before, you don't call a guy a name. You can say you're acting like a jerk, but you don't say, Caleb, you're a jerk.
Yes.
There's a world that, this guy got the straight out name calling. I mean, it was so obvious they wanted to run him off. And then he passed away.
He did. He had an enlarged heart. It was sad. But with, since we're on the warm body and talking quarterbacks, obviously Dave wants Jim Bob Cooter at Tennessee, cuddling the warm body.
He is a serial cuddler. Is he serial or not? I think he's a serial offender because he had a DUI. But as far as the cuddling thing, I think he only did that once. He broke into a young lady's apartment and didn't try to do anything like sexually assault her, just thought he would cuddle with her.
He stripped down to his underwear to cuddle her.
He did strip down his underwear, but it was obvious he was drunk and needed a nap. It's not like he just needed a woman.
Do you think he actually just went into the wrong bed?
Yeah, that happened too. Who else did that happen with recently where he was like the Carson Beck? Somebody was beating on the wrong door and they got lost. And have you ever been in that situation at an apartment complex? I was trying to take something to my daughter who lives in Chattanooga. And this is a true story, so I'll share this with you. It's really embarrassing, but true story. I used to live at the Chattanooga Choo Choo, and because I worked for a company who put me up there, and it was really cool, actually. And so my daughter lives there now, and I couldn't remember the apartment number. So I stood outside and I yelled her name, which kind of sounds like help. And I beat on a couple of doors. And then suddenly a guy comes out and he's got a pistol thinking I was saying help. And he's ready to go protect somebody. And then the cops came shortly thereafter. So I was completely sober, but I've been in the position at an apartment complex where they all look the same. Was that Carson Beck?
That might be. I don't remember, but
he went beating door to door. So yes, I don't think Jim Bob Cooter meant to assault anyone. I think Jim Bob Cooter simply went into the wrong room.
Yeah, and it happens when you're drunk a lot.
Not a lot. I mean, if you got into the wrong residence, a lot.
No, yes, not a lot.
I mean, I wouldn't say. I mean, a lot is a little too strong. What'd you do last Saturday? Well, I got really hammered and I went in the wrong room. Went into the wrong house. That's on me. All right. John Slaughter in the portal. Are we tackling that? Do we have time for that?
Yeah, we got time for it. We got time for a few things.
All right. John Slaughter in the portal. I'm not concerned about John Slaughter. I'm concerned about potentially Mike Matthews entering the portal, some Nico buddies entering the portal. But what do you make of John Slaughter in and of himself entering the portal?
I actually think it's a good sign that for Tennessee that John Slaughter's entered the portal. And let me break down why. Slaughter played all 13 games as a freshman and then saw significant action, started a few times last year as a sophomore as a safety. Christian Harrison entered the transfer portal back in December. You had every reason to believe that he was going to be a significant impact player, right?
Yes.
Here's what I think happened.
Good Lord, though, if I hear about his dad one more time playing in the NFL, I'm going to vomit.
His dad played in the NFL? Or
Rodney Harrison.
Oh, yeah, but Christian Harrison's gone. Yeah, but okay. So John Slaughter's dad. Listen to me. Now you got me saying, okay. What happened last year at safety, Dave? Jordan Thomas suffered a season-ending injury, remember?
Yes.
He's back. Jacoby Thomas is back at safety. Andre Turrentine is back at safety. I think Slaughter entered the portal because in spring practice, Thomas and Turrentine took a major step forward, and Jacoby Thomas took a major step forward, and so did Andre Turrentine. And Jordan Thomas has now returned and is looking as every bit as good as he did before he got hurt. So I think Tennessee is actually going to be much better at safety this year, and the depth is what pushed John Slaughter into the transfer portal.
I want to ask you this. Does Tennessee have a portal problem? Not a porta potty problem, but a portal problem. We broadcast from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, East Tennessee's largest volume dealer. You'll be so happy with your purchase. TedRussell.net, TedRussellFord.net. Let's talk Slaughter and let's talk transfer portal, because if you haven't been paying attention, Tennessee has lost a lot. Here we
go. Like a blast from the past, the super dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The super dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT, or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location.
All right, so let's address this on the front end, Tennessee's safety position. So should you be concerned about John Slaughter? I personally thought that John Slaughter was an overachiever. I didn't think he was big. I didn't think he was fast. I thought he was a stopgap player that Tennessee would have more talent at that position. If you remember, he started at corner. So I think it's been pretty obvious that with Jermon McCoy, Ricky Gibson III, that they have indeed had more talent at the position that he was originally recruited to play. So I don't think Tennessee has a safety or defensive back problem just because John Slaughter jumps into the portal. You?
No. I think it's a sign that Tennessee's better at safety. And let's think about this. Jermon McCoy's banged up at cornerback, right? You and I don't think he's going to be 100% in the fall.
No. Good chance. It's an ACL injury in January. Plus, Josh Heupel is always overly optimistic on injury returns.
Right. So I think with that in mind, I would have John Slaughter. I think that Tennessee needs their safeties to be much, much better. And I think so with McCoy. So the safeties need to be much, much better and help bring the cornerbacks along, because you're probably going to have Ricky Gibson, Jalen McMurray, and Boo Carter starting at the corner and nickel spots. So you want Turrentine, Thomas, and then the two Thomases being impact players at safety in a rotation. I think Slaughter entering the portal tells me that those safeties are going to be really, really, really good. Those other ones. And so I think that John Slaughter hitting the portal is a really, really good sign that Tennessee is getting what they need at safety. Pretty much. I guess that's where I'm landing with this. Is Tennessee's safeties have emerged as a significant force. I think they will be much, much, much better this year.
Okay, so we know Tim Banks is a defensive coach, coached a lot of defensive backs. Are we to the point where you can say Tennessee's defensive backs from year to year are going to be a strength? Because we say that with Rodney Garner on the defensive line. Should we start saying that with Tennessee's defensive backfield?
That Tim Banks has done a great job developing guys and finding bodies?
No, that it's something you can count on from year to year. That Tennessee is going to have at least a good secondary. For instance, let's go back to the Philip Fulmer days. You knew that he was going to have at least a good offensive line. Maybe not dominant, maybe not great. Let's go to the Steve Spurrier days. You knew he was going to have good receivers. Maybe not dominant, maybe not great. You see where I'm going there? Is Tennessee at that point?
Yes. And also, I think, given what happened with Jermon McCoy, Dave, last year, and given Alontae Taylor being a second-round draft pick, I think you're about to see kind of I don't want to say renaissance, kind of a wave of really good cornerbacks wanting to play for Tennessee, because even though secondary has been an issue, given the way Heupel coaches and everything like that, it's a very good chance that you can sell it if you're the number one cornerback. You can turn into a star at Tennessee. I mean, Jamal McCoy was an All-American.
Yeah, here's the other thing too. We talked about for years, the first couple of years of Josh Heupel's tenure, that Tennessee, the defensive players wouldn't want to play for them. I've totally, because of the offense, and it makes them play 80 plays a game and teams are coming back. I've totally changed my tune on that. I'm taking them back to the 2022 year, not the double tight end look last year, but they still aren't horrible offensively. If you've got a lead and I'm Omar Norman Lott and I don't have to worry about the run and I can rip up field, then I get more sacks, which is fun. And if I'm a defensive back, there are more balls in the air and I've got a greater opportunity to make plays. I've done a complete 180 on that. I think defensive players, especially as long as Tennessee has depth and you don't get worn out, I think defensive prospects should want to play for Tennessee.
I would think so too. And I'm shocked that the corners have actually fared better than the safeties, because I thought safeties would have better opportunities to make big plays. Because let's be honest, Dave, when you judge teams you don't judge cornerbacks on interceptions. You judge safeties on interceptions. You judge cornerbacks on actual passing yards picked up in a game. And Tennessee struggled with that. But
I got to pick some balls off.
I agree with you on that. And so what are you? So we're in agreement. John Slaughter didn't leave because of the system, right? John Slaughter left because Tennessee safeties are emerging, and Tennessee's getting depth there, right?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think they're deeper. I mean, how much was John Slaughter going to play?
Yeah, and so when you study this transfer portal, guys, you got to look. Spring portal entries are, with the exception of the Nico situation, are typically good news for you. So I think that Tennessee should be. I think they're in good shape. I think they should be happy about the whole situation. I do. I think they're going to be fine at safety, and I think this is actually a good sign. And so I think John Slaughter hitting the portal is a sign of specifically of Jordan Thomas returning and becoming elite.
The poll question, we'll reset that. But first, the previous poll question: what do you expect out of a quarterback in the transfer portal? A true factor, a warm body. A true factor, 54%. A warm body, which Caleb finds is some sort of sexual innuendo, gets 45% of the vote. And then replacing that, are UT's defensive backs a sure thing? Yes, Tim Banks has got this. No, not sold yet. I think he's got this. I think he's turned Ricky Gibson III into a solid corner. I think the fact that he was able to transition Jermod McCoy, who I realized was a transfer and you expect more out of him, but he transitioned to him quickly. He's taken defensive backs from the corner position, moved them to defensive backs. Look at what he did with Boo Carter. I really think are they as sure of a thing as Tennessee's defensive line with Rodney Garner? Probably not. But I could make a strong argument they're the second most sure thing on the team, because I like what Glenn Ellerby's done on the offensive line, but I haven't seen the development there. It's really tough to judge the linebackers on the flip side because of the injuries to Keenan Pili. Quarterbacks have been up and down. Receivers have not been established early. I think we're having a discussion here. Tennessee's defensive backs, other than the defensive line, are the most sure thing on the team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Doesn't it sound weird to say it? Because we didn't go over that in our 3:45 a.m. production meeting. It sounds weird when I first say it, but I think there's something to that.
No, they're the most solid. I totally agree. I think Tennessee's defensive backs are the most solid thing on the team, are one of the most solid things on the team. Sure things to be solid. And they're much better now than they were a couple of years ago, particularly at safety. I think the safety position is where you're seeing the biggest improvement going forward, which is why Slaughter's in the portal.
I agree. All right. Urban Meyer says the Vols are screwed. Guys, I hate to tell you, Urban Meyer's right. They might get unscrewed. I don't know how you do that. But they might get unscrewed if
by a warm body.
By a warm body. If Merklinger is as good as everybody hopes, if McIntyre is a phenom and surpasses Merklinger, but I don't think they're going to get anything other than a warm body in the transfer portal, and I don't think that quarterback will play a significant factor this year. You have a redshirt freshman quarterback who has thrown 9 passes and McIntyre has not thrown a single college pass. Yes, base value, unless one of these guys turns out to be a superstar. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's screwed for this season. Not to say they can't get unscrewed, but if you ask me on this day, April the 17th, yeah, they're kind of up the creek without a paddle. Now, can they overcome that? Yes. I gave you a couple of examples. How? Merklinger can be fantastic. McIntyre, I'm very, very high on. Not as high as Caleb, but I'm high. I don't think he's going to take the position this year, but I think he'll take it over by 2026. They could get a transfer portal guy. But here's the thing that would unscrew the Vols. I know it sounds funny. Josh Heupel is fantastic at unscrewing the Vols. Josh Heupel was able to go out and deal with 2 offensive tackles that stunk out loud and create a pretty good offense. And a quarterback in 2023 that was woefully average, Tennessee was still pretty good. So I think Josh Heupel is a good enough coach where he can overcome average quarterback play and even circumvent average quarterback play, Caleb. So I guess Tennessee's screwed right now, but Josh Heupel is going to be in the lab trying to tweak this offense to best suit Merklinger or McIntyre or a transfer portal guy. And I believe in his offensive acumen to think that Tennessee will be fine when they're actually playing games. But as of right now, Urban Meyer's right. They're screwed.
I don't think they're as screwed as you think. And I'm going to play the other side of this, not just to play the other side. We don't do that. I think Tennessee
Let's just see how many times we can say screwed in this segment.
I think Tennessee has an opportunity here. And they see this as an opportunity for a few reasons. The NIL landscape, can we agree, has changed dramatically since they gave Nico that $2 million 3 years ago?
Yes.
They don't have to honor that amount of money for whoever they get in the portal. They can get an average to above average quarterback who is just as good. And maybe McIntyre and Merklinger, one of them will work out and be just as good. And here's the crazy part, Dave. They can go spend that money they were spending on Nico on other talent to upgrade elsewhere. They have a huge, this is a huge opportunity now. Okay. The reason Urban Meyer thinks they're screwed, I'm just going to give you, this is a great window into Urban Meyer's perspective. Urban Meyer believes you're always screwed if you ever lose a player. That's why he believes that even if players kill people, they should be on his team. Then so like Urban Meyer is like, I can't afford to lose anybody. So I think here's my question to you, Dave. Is Tennessee screwed? Because can we agree at this moment that Nico wasn't worth the $2 million he was playing for?
No. I'm not. No. I'm not willing to agree with that yet.
I am. I'm willing to agree that he wasn't worth the $2 million.
I think he was a decent first-year starter with offensive tackle issues and could have been a superstar this year. I'm not willing to.
I think he could have, but are we sure that the drop-off at quarterback could not be outweighed by adding talent with that extra $2 million elsewhere?
I think you could make that argument for sure.
What
are the second 2 most important positions in football other than quarterback? By the way, Corey says you don't get to the playoffs with a bad quarterback. It doesn't matter how good your running back and defense is. Maybe not bad, but you can do it with average. The 2 most important positions other than quarterback are a pass rushing, an edge rusher, and a left offensive tackle. Now, Tennessee plays their best offensive tackle sometimes on the right side, so I'm not going to quibble over that. I don't like it, but I'm not going to quibble. Would I rather have 2 elite players at offensive tackle or edge rusher, and a decent quarterback, or a decent edge rusher and offensive tackle and an elite quarterback? I will take the better edge rusher and offensive tackle than an elite quarterback every day of the week.
100 times, particularly in college.
I really thought you were going to disagree with that.
No, that's why I don't think he's screwed, particularly in college football. By the way, since we're just talking about this, can I share something quickly with you?
You can.
Major shout out to WBIR, because this is a video of Nico Iamaleava's family packing up their U-Haul truck and getting ready to leave Knoxville and head for California. I'm not even kidding. I think this is his dad right there, right? Picking some things up.
Is this a live shot?
No, that's not a live shot. WBIR, someone filmed it. I'll tell you this. you got Urban Meyer thinks. See, this is how Urban Meyer thinks Tennessee's screwed. I think Nico's screwed more than anything. I genuinely don't think Tennessee's that screwed. Honestly, I think this is somewhat of a lost opportunity. But Dave, look, are you sure that Merklinger nor McIntyre? Here's where, say you go with Merklinger or McIntyre. The only thing that's going to happen is whoever you choose to start is going to demand more NIL money before the season starts, right? They're going to demand a pay raise.
Yes.
It's not going to be $2 million. So I say right now, you go get talent that you can get elsewhere in the portal as quickly as possible. So I think that
Smoky Mountain. Okay, go ahead and finish.
Smoky Mountain. So I think you upgrade, get another offensive lineman. Why not get another receiver? Heck, I mean, I'm just saying. And yes, Smoky Mountain Red for the win. Do they not have enough money for movers?
Right. I mean, maybe they're just broke.
Look, I told you guys, Nico's dad ain't the brightest bulb in the box. And so I'm breaking with Urban Meyer on this. I don't think Tennessee's as screwed as many people think. Now, again,
it's Snakes. Let's see what you said. Don't need elite tackles in the veer and shoot. I was talking about in general with football. I agree.
I don't know. I mean, Tennessee's best year was when Darnell Wright was balling at right tackle and became a top 10 NFL draft pick. I don't think that was a mistake. Now, the question is, do you need an elite? Would you rather, in Tennessee system, you'd probably rather have an elite center than an elite tackle, wouldn't you? One of the few offensive systems in football where the center is more important than the tackle.
Yes.
I think we agree with that. But I think that, look, I think, again, I just got to say, this is an opportunity for Tennessee more than anything else. They could either go out and buy a decent quarterback for less money than Nico, who has more experience and is more proven and may even be better. You guys brought up Haynes King. I bring up Byron Brown. Tennessee's got a lot of options. And you can still upgrade elsewhere in the portal, or you just buy a bunch of talent elsewhere in the portal and just throw some money at another offensive lineman and another this. David Sanders may not be ready to go this year. Find an elite All-American right tackle and throw him money. Here's what you do, Dave. Take the best right tackle in the nation. What do you think the best right tackle in the nation is making right now?
I don't know. Not a lot, I wouldn't think.
Throw $1 million at him. And say, hey, want to come to Tennessee? Go to the best defensive tackle. Throw another $1 million at him. Boom. Because I know you say edge rusher, but I think a generational defensive tackle can single-handedly make a defense better.
Well, I think you get a very good player in the spring portal. I don't think you're going to get generational players to leave their school.
If you throw $1 million at them when they're making $300,000 elsewhere, you can.
I think they've already been signed up, and if they're that good, then the individual schools would probably up the ante, like Nico's parents try to get Tennessee to do. K-Shay says Nico has ruined his reputation. The taxes, along with Cali cost of living, are going to eat that money up. You're absolutely right, Cali. And I've got a column on Off the Hook Sports, which I encourage you to check out, that addresses that very issue. Now, Caleb, new poll question up. Can we set that up?
Sure.
What do we got?
Let's see. Who was screwed more, Nico, Tennessee?
All right. What do you got?
I got Tennessee. I mean, I got Nico. Nico's definitely screwed more. And also, as you pointed out in your column, he's not going to get that beach house in Malibu.
No, or Manhattan Beach. All right, so we've got some breaking news. What are we doing now, Caleb? Are we staying on path, which is rule changes to college football? Okay, we're skipping that.
We'll do that tomorrow, guys. More breaking news that came out today.
It's been announced Lee Corso will retire. And Lee Corso, I have a history with. I remember calling him to be on talk shows way back in the early 2000s. And I remember he worked at a pencil plant. That's right, just like a pencil. And that's how much he loved college football. It wasn't a full-time gig for him. He was doing it as a passion. Lee Corso is truly one of the gems of sports broadcasting. One of the gems, of course, of college football. And I think college football is a little bit less than it was once he retires than it was previously. I know he struggled some in his later years. He had the stroke, I guess, about a decade ago, and he came back from that. Caleb, my first thought with Lee Corso is I hope that it wasn't football keeping him alive. And I hope that doesn't mean that his time on this earth is done, because he was just a great individual, super guy when I worked with him. And I look at situations like Paul Bear Bryant passed away, 2 months after he stopped coaching. I was watching that Lane Kiffin and Theo Vaughn show, and he said that he felt like that coaching kept his dad alive through dementia. So, Caleb, that's my takeaway from Lee Corso retiring, is I hope that doesn't mean he feels like he's close to the end. I hope it doesn't mean that without that, he doesn't feel like life's worth living. And that may not even be a conscious decision, Caleb. I mean, you've probably been around people that are just, my grandmother's a great example. At some point, chemo was just too much. And I don't know that it was a conscious decision that she was ready to die, but she was ready to stop hurting. So I'm curious your thoughts on Lee Corso, because there's nothing bad I can say about the man. I've just got tremendous respect for him.
Yes, I have a lot of respect and love for Lee Corso. Lee Corso is, for those who don't know, his last show, he's going to do his last show the opening weekend of college football, August the 30th. He's going to do one more show for that and then call it quits. He'll be 90 years old when he does that, because his birthday, he was born August the 7th, 1935. Lee Corso, I get what your point is with the whole Bear Bryant thing. We also got to remember Bear Bryant was a heavy drunk, particularly in his later years. Bear Bryant had a severe drinking problem in the 70s.
But Lee Corso has severe health problems.
Lee Corso does have severe health problems. He does have a stroke. He clearly recovered well from that stroke, at least. But Bear Bryant smoked and drank and he only knew football. So I think Lee Corso, let's put it this way. It's possible that there's a health problem with Lee Corso we don't know about, and that's why he's doing this final show. Because I'm worried.
There obviously is. He's 90. Nobody doesn't have health problems at 90.
Right. But I mean, a health problem that forces him to step down where he can't do this anymore.
Well, I think at some point he decided that it's not in his best interest to struggle in the air, and he did last year. And he knows that they want to move towards Pat McAfee. McAfee's going to be the guy.
And he's missed too many weeks the last few years being in the hospital or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, so let me tell you guys my Lee Corso story. Look, I mean, I turned in my fan card like a while ago because I cover Tennessee, but I grew up a hardcore Tennessee fan, and like many people, Dave, there was a period with Lee Corso, I don't know if you remember, from about 98 to 2001, where it just felt like he hated Tennessee because he always picked against Tennessee. And the most infamous moment, as I'm sure you remember, is when he and Kirk Herbstreit both said Florida would blow out Tennessee on College Game Day in 2001, and Tennessee pulls the upset. But I have to speak highly of Lee Corso, because half of the greatness of college football to me, not half, but a significant part of it, was getting up at 8 o'clock Central Time, which is what my time in Memphis, and just turning on College Game Day and just watching it for 3 hours. Nothing really prepped you more excitingly for a show, did it? For a college football Saturday. Nothing got you more ready for college football Saturday. Guys, College Game Day and Lee Corso with the helmet pick that came, and which it started with Ohio State in 96. That whole saga turned college football into more of a show than anything else. And I don't think anybody understood better. And I'm going to say this, and Dave, you and I are sports journalists. We have fun. Can I say something that annoys me the most about sports journalists? A lot of them. They complain when too much entertainment value is inserted into journalism. They try to act like they're covering like reports on curing cancer sometimes. Sports journalists do. Lee Corso, as a commentator, understood this is a TV show. This is about fun. This is about entertainment. This is about engagement. And I think no one really understood that better than Lee Corso, that this is about entertainment.
Well, and he did so too. So early 2000s, how old would he have been? If he's going to be 90, he would have been
in his late 60s. In the year.
Okay. I mean, that to me is a testament to how intelligent he was, because he could have stayed in the old rut of, I'm just going to break down X's and O's. That's what I'm going to do. But he did the headgear thing, and he let it take off, and he didn't care. People thought he had some allegiance to one school or another. He was an incredibly sweet person, is an incredibly sweet person. Don't let me get that wrong. Is an incredibly sweet person, but also incredibly intelligent to get it. I mean, he got it, Caleb. And he understood way before a lot of people that it's okay to show your fandom a little bit. As a matter of fact, I mean, how many, I sense the reporting. I mean, I know where Mark Schlabach and Chris Lowe are from, which would be Georgia and Tennessee respectively. And I see them showing more of their fan side. Well, that's probably coming from the ESPN brass. And who was way ahead of that? Lee Corso. He didn't need a directive or an email from those guys. Your thoughts? Rick Terry, Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry, a Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com. RickTerryJewelry.com. So I'll let you have the final word on Lee Corso, but I'll miss him. And I think it's sad. And he struggled in his later years. I think we all know that. But man, what a proponent of college football. Just Herb Street has kind of taken that over. But there were a number of years for you younger than me that Herb Street was not the reason people watch College Game Day. It was Lee Corso.
It was. And Lee Corso, by the way, before the last 10 years where he, his stroke has made it very hard for him to speak, it wasn't like Lee Corso didn't know X's and O's. He could talk to you X's and O's very, very well. And he also brought in the entertainment. And you can still tell when you watch him on TV, and even when you watch him last year, his mind is there. It's just he can't get the words out because his speech has suffered so much.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. I was always defensive of him saying, a lot of people were like, why is he on the show? He can't talk. I'm like, let him do the headgear pick at the end. It's fun. We all accept it. I was fine with him doing it until he was 100, honestly. And I wouldn't have cared if he was having trouble talking the whole time. Lee Corso, you're right. Sports is the candy store of journalism. It is. And whether you're in TV or working at a newspaper, let me point this out to you guys. We're not on the ground in Israel and Gaza, like covering the situations there and the geopolitical situations, right?
No, we're not. We're not covering it. I specifically, when I chose to get into sports, did not want to be a part of serious stuff like covering a family of 4 dies in a car wreck at 2 a.m.
Yes, and I've had to be a part of that. I had to do that type of GA reporting for a long time. You know what I'm talking about, those sports journalists that think that take themselves way too seriously, right? They think that they have the most important job in the world, and they hate people that bring entertainment and like, oh, we're a sports journalist. We need to be straight-laced and report. It's like, bro, you're covering sports. It's the candy store of journalism, okay? And Lee Corso was one of the first to say, you know what? This is the candy store of journalism. And he was a former coach. He was and comes in as an analyst, and he brought so much fun and joy to it. He brought so much joy to College Game Day. It got you excited for the day. And no one did it better than Lee Corso to get you excited for the day. And I mean, his headgear picks were just great. Like remember that time they put a rifle in his hand and he shot it? Yeah. And the time where he was at the Houston game and he fake picked one school and he goes, F it. But he actually said the F word.
Yeah. He slipped up and dropped an F-bomb a couple of times. Josh with a comment. This is hands down the best Tennessee podcast. Keep up the great content. I appreciate that, Josh. If you would like a book on me, I just dropped my email in the chat. I'm going to start giving away, because our comments have been so great, I'm going to start giving away a book a day that will go to the top comment of the day. So that could be ongoing. But Josh, I just decided to do it, and you were very complimentary. You don't have to compliment us. I mean, it can be just a fantastic comment. But because you complimented us and I just decided to do that, I'm going to take care of you. So email me your info and I'll get a book out to you. And that goes for everyone. I'm going to start giving away a book a day because I greatly appreciate you guys. I think I mentioned it's been a kind of a trying time in my life, but the response to that and the response to what we're doing has been overwhelming. And I am blessed beyond words, especially to have Caleb Calhoun, who is just you don't know all the work he does behind the scenes. So anyway, I don't think that there's a coincidence that ESPN Game Day started to slip about the same time that Lee got sick and started to slip as well. I think to a large extent, he carried that show, and I think it's proven in the ratings. For Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. The show broadcast from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln studio, tedrussellford.net, tedrusselllincoln.net. No tariffs on those cars. Absolutely